Welcome to the Brutiful Game. I'm your host, Ron. Bit of a strange beginning to the episode. Here, joined in studio with Ferris.
Glory, Man United. Hola.
Blake is otherwise occupied and
He's still crying over.
Yeah, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
He texted and said, "Oh, I'm otherwise occupied. I can't make it tonight, guys. You take care of it." But really, he's still just soaking up his tears from the Arsenal loss.
Yep.
So since Blake isn't here, you know what that means.
We get to trash on Arsenal.
Oh, yeah.
All episode.
We just beat Arsenal senseless. It's going to be great. So
And VAR.
Yeah. Oh.
And VAR. There were plenty of VAR happenings, and so much so.
Can you recall a worse weekend for VAR?
I don't think I can. At least.
And it happened in a lot of leagues, too.
Like
MLS had problems.
Yep.
La Liga's had problems.
Yep. Not since, remember that first season after the World Cup where VR were introduced, we're like, oh, this thing's great. We're going to love VAR.
Yeah.
That very next season, we're like, oh, well,
they tanked.
The English will find a way to jack up VAR. And sure enough, it just continued on years later.
Clear and obvious.
Yeah.
I think those are the keywords.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So on this episode, you can see Ferris and I are a little fired up over VAR, but we're going to talk about Manchester United's 3-1 win over Arsenal, which ends their 5-0 run, unbeaten streak this season. Obviously, like we said, VAR's horrible weekend, and the big guns, Manchester City and Liverpool, were held to draws by relegation fodder in Aston Villa and Everton, respectively. That's pretty true.
Yeah. But you know what? We get it once again this week. The Prince of Pennsylvania, Ron, will once more entertain us with brevity of brewskis and breweries before we then close out our soccer talk with this week's edition of La Liga's Roundup.
Nice. But first, what kind of pod would we be without a beer?
Very true. We did a Tampa Bay brew last week with Zero Given.
Yes, we did.
Courtesy of Hidden Springs Ale Works. We're going to stick in Tampa because, Tampa essentially won. You know, the Gladiators, not everybody's a fan of, but they do own Manchester United. And so it was a way to still tie it in there, right? No?
Yeah,
I'm stretching that one far. Yeah. But one of my favorite breweries in the Tampa Bay area, and we've had it on the pod before. I believe we had it on the pod sometime about this time last year. So I'm not quite sure what episode that would have been. But from Angry Chair Brewing, we have Space Grass IPA.
Ooh. Yes.
And if you were listening to that episode back then, I gave an awesome kind of about the brewery, which you can find out over at angrychairbrewing.com. Kind of read a little bit about what is your angry chair, and there was a nice kind of, your angry chair is a so symbolic place, and it was a nice kind of write up on why and how the brewery named themselves that. And they, I believe, have a new tap room over in Tampa. They moved from their old location, which is great because the parking at that old brewery was a mess. It was terrible.
Yeah, agreed.
But Space Grass is a IPA, of course, and not a whole lot of info on their website in terms of hops and such. So we're going to go over to the Untapped, where you can follow us, of course, at the Beautiful Game, and see if I can spot what a little bit of that is.
The can art is pretty slick on this. It's very, I don't know. It kind of fits into the Halloween theme that's coming up, where there's it looks like kind of a Celtic knot. And then there's a bunch of skulls on it and some sort of like nebula in the center.
Yeah, and they do a lot of their brews and names off of a lot of like haunted, cryptid, those type of mythology, like the can't think of the word that I'm trying to find, but they always have this very cool kind of very black and gray style can art on a lot of their stuff.
Yeah, there's so little on the can. In fact, the ABV is not on it, and it only gives you the government warning.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the logo that says Angry Chair and Space Grass IPA. Past that, and the skulls. There's nothing else on it.
Yeah, it's like they went. This beer is damn good. Just put it in a can, slap something on the front, and bingo bango.
Right, get it out.
But it's a American IPA, 6.7% ABV, and the various hops that are in it are Simcoe, Eldorado, and Azacca. I think I said that right.
Wonderful.
So we will be enjoying this lovely Space Grass IPA.
Shall we give her a crack?
Absolutely. I was just making sure it didn't go all over me like I did like the second beer I had last week.
This full right to the top.
Like I said, they just put a damn good beer in a can, slap something on front of it, and bingo bango. They're a brewery really known for their stouts and their double IPAs. Usually when you go into the tap room, you can't find anything under like a 7%. They've kind of dialed that back a little bit in recent times, as the beer that I had on about this time last year was a Berliner Weiss, which was quite low on the ABV.
Right.
Tea time.
Tea time.
Yep.
Right.
So this is an IPA actually below 7%.
Is this a hazy? It's got that hazy feel to it. Looks quite tasty though.
Doesn't.
I'm excited. All right.
It's a nice clean smell.
Shall we give her a whirl?
Nice clean hop smell. Absolutely.
Cheers, my friend.
To Arsenal.
To Arsenal losing and popping their the bubble of reality.
That was going to happen at some point.
Ooh. Oh, that is pretty. Wow. Ooh, piney up top.
Piney up top,
ooh,
but
ooh.
I love the finish. Very, very clean, crisp, little bit of citrusy there at the end. That just kind of ends it well for me.
Yeah, it's a bit of a malty finish too.
Excuse me.
Yeah, a little malty finish, but it's quite tasty.
Yeah, I don't know if it quite gets into like a hazy or even a West Coast. It's more of a hybrid and just almost an American Florida IPA. Does that make sense?
Maybe they just invented a new style.
Yeah.
The FIPA.
The FIPA. It's damn good.
Instead of the NEPA. Well, shall we get to the soccer?
Sure.
The football.
The footies.
So first on up, Manchester United's 3-1 win over Arsenal to end Arsenal's 5-match unbeaten streak. And I think Manchester United did it in a bit of style, to be honest. Arsenal kind of looked a little lethargic, but this was this weekend's big match between, obviously, Manchester United and Arsenal. Obviously, Manchester United beat them 3-1 at Old Trafford. A brace by Marcus Rashford and $100 million debut goal by new boy Antony highlighted the counterattacking flaws to Arsenal's defense. Saliba!
Saliba.
Yeah, who got completely torn open.
Who that for that second goal, that if you haven't seen the highlights of it, that outside of the boot through ball to Marcus Rashford for that second goal, absolutely beautiful. Just it. Ben White had to run his hat all the way over to even try to get it, and he got a little bit on it, but it wasn't enough just from that shot. But that just pierced through their defense, and it was right. Saliba just, I don't know if he didn't think that Rashford was that fast, or they were just so high up on that press that trying to do an offside trap, but it was just outside of the boot, just an absolutely lovely ball in.
Yeah. And that Eriksson pass off to Rashford that allowed that bypass it allowed two Manchester United attackers in behind the Arsenal back line. And I was just astounded because that's fundamental, right? Like when I was growing up playing soccer, the coaches were always like, look, a ball through should never bypass an entire line of defense. And that happened so many times against Arsenal in this match.
Yeah. It's like Arsenal came in there thinking that we're top of the league and we're just going to play our style and we're going to win playing our style. And not remembering the rivalry behind the game, not remembering they're away from home, which majority of their wins this year have been at home.
Right.
Oh, by the way, they haven't beaten anybody in the top 10. I mean, Fulham are exactly at 10.
Yeah. Well,
so all of their wins have been bottom.
To be fair, you just happened upon the top 10.
We were there for at least the past 2 weeks, so it's not like it was.
You were outside. Weren't you outside last week?
No,
and
we were in.
The last win got you into the top 10, not the win before it.
I think that's correct.
I'm pretty sure.
I think that's correct because we beat Liverpool. We weren't in the top 10. Then we beat Southampton in top 10, in the top 10. But let's back it up a little bit here.
Blake is just spinning wherever he is right now. He's just spinning.
The game was a very highly anticipated match, kind of the first true test for Arsenal, which, as we alluded to, their schedule hasn't been the toughest, but they've won all the games up to this point. And in the first 15 minutes, it was Man United. Then there was one counterattack that ended in a goal. A lovely taken goal by Martinelli.
Yeah.
But called not a goal because of VAR.
Right. In the build-up, right?
In the build-up.
Right.
Which we're going to get in here and talk about VAR a lot, but this is how VAR, in my opinion, is supposed to be done. It was, and how I can explain it, when you watch that build-up, and Ron, we've sat up there in the stands of Orlando City. You play online on the game, the video game. When your eyes see something that looks like a foul, what do you normally shout out loud? Foul.
Yeah.
Right? That was this. When Odegaard came from behind and took Eriksson off the ball, my first word out of my mouth was foul. No whistle blew. Eriksson was dispossessed of the ball, threw ball onto Martinelli, and he scored. That only happened because of that foul. That was a foul. It was the exact same thing that Scott McTominay got called for against Martinelli minutes before. Coming from behind challenge, not getting any sort of the ball, two hands extended to the back. Whether you think that's soft or not, it's a foul. It was a foul for Scott McTominay, and it was a foul for Odegaard. You can watch that. He never gets ball. So he takes Eriksson's knee out and two hands to the back extended.
So it was two passes and then on to Martinelli, right?
It was he came in, never got ball. It was dispossessed. I don't remember if there was one pass before Martinelli, but I thought he was dispossessed, and then that ball was played.
Okay. So here, I'm not actually going to debate whether or not it was a foul. What I'm going to say is that nothing is being applied fairly. And the reason that is, back Chelsea-Tottenham, that match where we had a 5-pass build-up into a goal and on Tottenham's side, should have been called back, in my opinion, still, because the same thing happened.
Yeah. Listen, we can sit here and debate all day long the consistency of VAR, which is not much of a debate because I think we all can agree that it's not applied fairly. But when compared to the other VAR calls, which we'll get into here in a bit, it was a foul. That foul directly led to a goal.
So, yeah, by the letter of the law, it was a foul. He was looking for the contact and went over extremely easy. So I think why people feel done wrong is because for that match, I think you could have given the Oscar to Eriksson for that foul. It's not like he got clattered into.
It's still, somebody comes up from behind you.
He wasn't behind him. He was shoulder to shoulder, just slightly behind him.
Takes out his knee and extends two hands.
You can't.
And gives him a push.
You say takes out his knee like it was this massive. I have four times.
He doesn't get any sort of ball. So he gets his leg because Eriksson shields him.
It's a tangle, a coming together. It's a coming together and a tangle in which Eriksson falls over. So yes, I think it's light. It is a foul. I'm not arguing that. But I am saying Eriksson was looking for the contact and was just waiting so he could fall over.
Welcome to the world of football.
It's still...
My point is, Scott McTominay got fouled for it 2 minutes before that for the exact same thing. So consistency in this match, absolutely.
Fair.
If you could call for it there, you better call it there.
It was much harder on the McTominay one than it was in the Eriksson one. But I grant you are correct.
Well... Odegaard, I mean, Eriksson pretty much the entire game turned to Odegaard and said, son, this is how it's done. And let me show you some stats. 1 assist, 56 touches, which was the most in the game, 42 passes, which was the most in the game, 3 chances created, the most in the game, and distance covered, 11.2 kilometers, second most in the game.
Who had the first?
And the Arsenal captain gets subbed off.
Yeah.
In the second half. That's a 30-some-year-old man showing a young lad, talented as all can be.
Yeah.
That's how it's done.
And what's interesting is, for the most part, Arsenal ruled the stats from the game perspective, right? They had 61% of the possession. Granted, they didn't do that much with it. They almost seemed at times timid in their attack. It kind of looked like Jesus didn't know which way he should be going or when. He seemed to not be making the runs he normally makes.
United also put them off the game a lot. They have not come up against a defensive team like that. And Varane gave Jesus a battle all game long. And those two were going back and forth all game long. And when you look at some of the other stats, as you alluded to, when you look at shots, right? Arsenal had 16 shots to United's 10.
Yeah.
But guess how many of those were on target?
Yeah, only 3.
Only 3 out of 16. United had 6 on target. Mind you, Arsenal also blocked 5 shots. United only blocked 1. So, yes, Arsenal played some Man City-esque Pep style ball where they passed it around a bunch. They did all of this, they did all of that, and it looked nice. But they didn't do a whole lot with the ball.
Yeah. Do you think Arteta's tactics for this weren't quite that good?
I think he was I think he was naive and coming into this game thinking they can just apply what they have applied all season, not altering that game plan. What United essentially did and what Arteta should have done, look at the blueprint from a few games earlier for United. What they did with Liverpool. They sat in. They defended hard, smart fouls, got their body in the way, tackle, clear, counter. No different than what they did against an Arsenal team, thinking that we're Liverpool and have the talent that can just break through that and attack.
Yeah.
You might have been able to do that the first 2 games. You know, Brentford clearly did that. Brighton clearly did that. I mean, Brighton, they're in the top 4 and they've stayed in the top 4 for the past 5 games. So that might
no joke.
So that might not be enough. But in all honesty, like so to answer your question, yeah, I do. I think he got his tactics wrong in this. And you look at where that second goal came from. He huffed on 3 attacking players and moved to essentially a back 3 and just pushed everybody up higher. That high line is what got caught twice.
Right.
So I get it. You have to go for a win, but when it's 1-1, you're on the road in a big rivalry game like that. You had the lion's share possession of the ball in the second half. You were being more creative. You were putting more chances towards goal. Now, the finishing touch wasn't there, and some of those stats will show that, but you got a goal out of it. It wasn't, the prettiest goal. It was essentially a ball cleared to the foot of Saka for in a wide open net. Didn't come in any of those multiple pass buildups, but you were on to something.
Yeah, and what's interesting,
you weren't behind at that point. So why?
Yeah, it's interesting why they kind of didn't continue to pursue that attacking style, because it was clearly working and had glimmers of it most of the second half, that they were going to be able to, kind of sneak somebody in toward the back post, really pull that Manchester United line away from it, because it had happened a few times.
Yeah.
They just weren't able to capitalize on it.
And what they tried to do is that very high line, keep the ball in the opposition half and continue putting on that waves of just pressure. But United has traditionally been one of the better counterattacking teams because of the speed at which the wing play and the forwards can break at. And that's what happened. And when you have passers like Eriksen and Bruno that can spot out those runs and put a ball into space to allow a Rashford, a Sancho, an Antony to get onto that, that is a piercing ball that is debilitating to a back line.
So,
and Arsenal played right into that for those last 2 goals.
So why? What are you crediting this kind of new identity, this new Manchester United form to in the past 3 games? Is it strictly Ten Hag?
No. We sit here and we sat here and said, so much blame has to be put on the actual players. Well, a lot of those players are still the same, right? Your Brunos, your Rashfords, your Sanchos, your Delots.
Right.
A lot of them are the same. Now, some of them are not. And I think that's a point that is a very big call, right? He sat Maguire and has a partnership of Varane and Martinez as your center back pairing. They've been brilliant so far. He's trusted Delot. That trust is starting to come good. I'm starting to kind of very slowly inch my way towards.
Yeah, are you turning in your card as the Delot?
I'm not there yet.
The president of the I Hate Delot fan club.
I'm not turning it in yet. I'm still keeping it. The voice is a little bit less now on Delot. But again, had another decent game in this one. Still very fallible there at the back, but I think that's something that can be worked on. You saw him in the first half doing a lot of overlapping runs with the new boy in Antony, and I think he offers a lot on the offensive side of the ball. On the other side, that Malacia kid, man, is he
He's crushing it.
He is. What he makes up for in height, he makes up for in just drive, and he's just all over the place. And he absolutely got into Saka's head and absolutely just twisted him around. He wasn't guarding him for that goal, but for most part, he locked him down. And you saw that because Saka kicked out at him there at the end of the half, which is a very childish and petulant thing.
Just frustration.
Anyways, but then you sit Ronaldo, right? You sit one of the biggest stars in the world game, and you sit him, and he becomes essentially a super sub now. I mean, hell, that's not too bad for Ronaldo to come off the bench in games, but you sit him and you put what was Alanga, Martial, or Rashford, and Sancho as your front three. Now, Antony comes in and a £100 million signing and starts right out of the gate. Signed in the week, starts out the gate. And what does he do? Scores on his debut. A lovely taken goal. We saw some of his Brazilian flamboyant kickouts and very Ronaldo-esque. He's 22 years old, the youngest Brazilian to score on his debut in the Premier League. And he, of course, was subbed in like the 60th or something like that, which, you don't want to push him too much. But he definitely offered a new threat that I think Arsenal had to think about. And I think Zinchenko over there, that was a big task for him.
Yeah.
It was Zinchenko and Odegaard were questionable to even start the game. Both got the starts in this. So do I put it all on Ten Hag to circle all the way back around? I think Ten Hag has a lot to do with it. Yeah, sure. I think he's probably 60% of that, if I'm being honest. Based on how he's going about the job and the seriousness at which he takes the job, and is something as simple as that day after that Brentford game, canceling the day off that next day.
Oh, right.
Making him run, but also doing the run with them.
Yeah.
That speaks to, I'm in it with you guys, you're in it with me. Let's get on board with this plan. Yeah. New signings certainly helped with that. So it's I'm not going to sit here and say we're going to make top four, we're going to win the league. But it's a step in these past 3 games.
Yeah.
4 games.
They're starting to look like
the right direction.
A formidable team that they once were.
2 clean sheets, 2 big wins against Liverpool and Arsenal, 2 of your biggest, games on the schedule that you circle and go out of all the games. These are it, for what those games hold and the history that those games hold, to get 2 wins at home. Now, both were at home, right? So it's different than playing, at the Emirates or at Anfield in these games, but it certainly helped.
I think the 2 things that I most noticed about this match: 1, Harry Maguire subbed on in the 80th minute, yellow carded at the 81st.
Yeah, great. Absolutely brilliant.
Oh, my God.
Brilliant.
And then the second thing is, I think a lot of teams who have yet to play Arsenal are going to watch this film back, and they're going to look at how the holes in the Arsenal defense and the confusion that the Manchester United play caused. Because, man, when they cut him open big.
Yeah. And you look at some of the teams in the top 10 who they haven't played yet. Brentford, Leeds, Liverpool, Brighton, Tottenham, City. I could throw Chelsea in there as well. But where I was going with all those other teams is, what do all of those other teams have? Very speedy players on the wings and on that front line that could, if you apply, and if Arteta tries to apply the same thing to some of these teams, a Haaland's going to get in there, a Salah's going to get behind when you just stick with the same tactic. That might work against Villa and Everton, but against some of these bigger boys, those tactics need to be changed a bit. And, that's what we gave Ole some slack for when he was in charge. That's what you can give, not so much Ralph, because I don't think Ralph had enough of a tenure there to kind of show what he wanted to do, but definitely Ole in terms of even Mourinho to an extent, right? He doesn't really change a whole lot, but he plays a very effective style for him. But
yeah,
it's not this full on high line ball control pressure, of a game. Once that kind of gets broke, and you don't have the players like a Man City does,
right,
that are so eloquently passers of the ball,
right? Just good at grinding teams.
It could occur. I think Arsenal are a very much improved and good team. I gave Odegaard a little bit of stick, but I think he's a wonderful midfield player for them. I think their back line is very much improved. I think Tomiyasu needs to play a little bit more for them. I don't think Ben White's a right back.
Yeah, I wonder.
So he might need to go to the bench to put in at Tomiyasu.
Yeah, I was wondering why Tomiyasu didn't get the start in that.
I think he's still coming back from.
Is it still
fitness,
injury?
But I'm not. Yeah, but I'm not 100% sure. And I still think that Jesus needs a little bit of help. Right?
Yeah.
I think Martinelli's a good partner for him. I think Martinelli, Saka, Jesus line is good. It's speedy. It's talented. But if Martinelli's the cleanest finisher out of that group, in my opinion, that's a little bit of an issue there.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Jesus didn't leave Man City because he was what Haaland can do for them.
Sure.
So
yeah.
It's almost a tier down for them.
And Jesus has some of the same problems as Raheem Sterling, who left Man City to get to Chelsea, with consistency, right? When they're on fire, they're hardly stoppable.
Yeah.
But when they're not firing, it's like take them off the pitch, right?
Yeah. And I think Jesus has been brilliant for them thus far. Will that longevity of Arsenal now getting into Europe, which is what they didn't have last year, somebody like Jesus will be used to that, but maybe not playing as much as he has been. But will that longevity of the squad kind of keep Arsenal in that fighting spot for first place?
Yeah. Who knows? Only time will tell.
Yep.
Arsenal's got, let's see, Everton, then they have Brentford, and then Tottenham are their next three.
And then they go two more after that. I think they go.
Let's say they go Liverpool, then they go to Leeds.
Almost all those teams.
They got a
top
tough
10
schedule
right now,
coming up. Other than Everton.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? That's their... if there was such a thing as a gimme, I think Everton Arsenal is the gimme.
We'll get to that game here in a bit. Liverpool might disagree with that statement there.
Well, Liverpool just played like absolute terrible.
Well.
All right. Well, moving on. VAR had an absolutely terrible weekend in multiple leagues, not just the English. VAR's Grand English Tour of bad calls and what the f***s carried on this weekend as highly contentious reverse calls were made on goals scored by Newcastle, West Ham, and Brighton. Palace's own goal by Tyreek Mitchell was called off after it was determined to be, quote, determined to be a foul by VAR on the Palace keeper, despite Mitchell pushing Newcastle's Joe Wilcock into Gata. The Professional Game Match Officials Limited later acknowledged the controversial call and believes errors were made after the Premier League called for an investigation. 0-0 was the match result.
So the PGMOL basically came out and said, yeah, we got that one wrong. And if you didn't see it, it was a goal, I believe, just after halftime or just before halftime. I think it was just after. But off of a free kick of such, it was a corner. I can't quite remember, but ball coming in, a Newcastle attacker went up for it. The defender pushed that attacker into the goalkeeper, right, and the ball actually went off of the defender that pushed the person into keeper. So it was an own goal.
Right. And
it was called a fair goal on the field. VAR intervened. The ref goes over to the monitor, and it's deemed a foul. That was kind of the first, like, what the hell? Yep. The goalkeeper's own player pushed,
right?
Like, so, and he's the one that scored it. Not so. How is that any bit on Newcastle?
It's not
right.
And then the other thing is, in all of these, in my opinion, was it a clear and obvious error?
Correct.
And let me point out that if you have to spend more than 20 seconds at the monitor,
correct,
it's not clear and obvious.
Correct. And you're probably asking yourself, well, why not put VAR's bad calls in this segment for what United's bad call was? Well, because that was a clear and obvious foul. Whether you think it was soft, whether you think he went down easy, it was a clear and obvious foul that was reversed. That's not clear and obvious in terms of a player going into the goalkeeper when you can see a two-handed push into the back of that player. And mind you, they're in midair when this happens. It's not like they're like standing there. And it's an own goal. So in what way did Newcastle bend the laws of the rule, of the game to get this goal?
They
didn't. But VAR and the on-field ref decided they did.
Yeah. Well,
then it continues.
Then it goes on to West Ham's match-tying goal, scored by Cornet in the 90th minute, was disallowed by VAR via a review in which a foul was deemed to have been committed by Bowen on Edward Mendy, the Chelsea goalkeeper.
Once again.
Yep. The Pigmall, that's what I'm calling it, Pigmall, Professional Game Match Officials Limited, later acknowledged the controversial call and said that they believe errors were made after the Premier League had to call for an investigation, and the match result was 2-1 to Chelsea. West Ham got robbed. I'm a Chelsea fan. They got robbed.
It's stuff like that where you can sit there and no matter if you're a fan of them or not and go, we got away with that one. But it used to be we got away with that one when there was a no call. Now they get a chance to watch the replay 700 times.
Right.
You didn't actually get away with it. Somebody just deemed that you didn't do anything wrong.
And I think it would have been different. I think there is a slim margin of difference in this particular case. If Mendy, who parried the ball away before he basically got brushed by the West Ham player's foot,
Bowen,
right?
Yep.
If Mendy had caught that ball and was laid into, I understand why that could have been a foul because
the possession of the ball in the goal.
He had the possession of the ball, but he parried it.
Correct.
It is not his ball at that time.
Correct.
So that means it's fair game.
Yep.
He's like any other player.
Yep. And a foul was not committed onto him after the fact. What they said was essentially
he couldn't have done anything with that ball
Bowen
that he parried
dragged
anyway.
his foot and intentionally tried to kick him in the stomach in a way.
Except it was up near his shoulder. And the only reason, look, again, I'm a Chelsea fan, but the only reason Mendy laid there doing his best Peter Griffin impersonation was because he had gotten beat.
Yeah, 100%.
That's it.
100%. At least it wasn't Havertz's flop a few minutes later.
Havertz. Oh, yeah.
God almighty, you watched that one.
Ugh.
Talk about a delayed response time.
Oh, my God.
Jeez.
That's like a full second and a half later.
God almighty. He should have been VAR just for that.
Wow.
But, it's to give a goal like that on the field of play to your point earlier, to then go back and have it deemed clear and obvious that that was a foul is, I don't know what VAR, what official that was on that day could have possibly thought. Because you are breaking that down to trying to pull something out of it that it's not. And for the PGMOL to...
Pigmall.
Sure. To come out and with 2 games in a row now basically say, yep, we acknowledge that call might not have been correct and believes that errors were made.
Yeah.
That's for all intents and purposes, saying we got that wrong.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I hope there is an investigation as to why you got that wrong. Because how can somebody sit there and think that either of those two that we just talked about are from that other team trying to get a leg up, or from them breaking laws of the game?
Yeah. Well, it continues. It continues. And look, we've only put 3 of the 6 crappy VARs. There was one in the Palace game. There was a couple of other ones, but a really interesting one. Alexis McAllister's stunning, beautiful strike just before halftime was disallowed by VAR after Welbeck was deemed to be offside, interfering with the Leicester City defender that headed the in-swinging free kick ball away to the incoming McAllister. 5-2 was the match result, so at the end of the day, it didn't matter in the least.
Yep.
But that's not the point. The point is, man,
you took a worldie of a goal off the board. I believe. Oh Lord, what's her name on the coverage for NBC? Lowe. When Rebecca Lowe was like, you. She was fired up she was fired up pretty much Saturday and Sunday for about all of these calls, and like, this is absolutely absurd. You took a worldie of a goal off the board because, to paint the picture in this one, another in-swinging free kick. Welbeck tried to bicycle it at like top of the box,
right?
Missed it, completely whiffed,
right?
It went onto a defender's head who headed it away,
right?
When he headed it away, it landed right in the path of oncoming McAllister, who showed that ball who's boss and absolutely wrecked that ball in the back of the net. It was a screamer. That goal is taken off because Welbeck was deemed to be offsides and interfering with the defender who cleared the ball. Huh?
I don't under
what? Huh?
How
he wasn't in a position to stop that goal from happening. It's not like he was standing in front of the goaltender when this strike went in, right, blocking that vision.
Right. He was on the deck when that happened.
From trying to do a really bad bicycle kick.
Hey, he tried. Right. Points for trying. If you don't go bold, you go home.
Exactly.
Right. So he's trying. It's just mind-boggling because there was nothing. Even if he had tripped, even if he did anything else except get that ball, the defender still put the ball in McAllister's path.
The defender still had
it
the ball away.
Had nothing to do other than he whiffed his bicycle kick.
Right. And you could sit there and go, okay, as a defender, Welbeck's flaring legs up in the air could have possibly put you off from clearing the ball to where you wanted to.
Right.
But that's part of the game. You're not going to kick every ball perfectly. You're not going to head every ball away perfectly. They make it look that easy on TV, but they're not always going to do that. That's why they sail the ball over the goal half the time.
Yeah. Or drag it wide.
Right.
Or
it's part of the game. So from an offensive player flashing their legs in your vision of the ball coming in, you're not probably getting the perfect clear that you wanted to landing in perfectly open space which allowed a player to come in and hit a beautiful strike. Not mind you, the goalie has nothing to do with this.
Right.
Just the goalie. There's not a goalie in the world that was going to stop that one. How is that? So how do you trace that back and go, because Welbeck was offsides,
So is it that he made a play for the ball and was in the path of the trajectory of the ball? And so
I guess
because I'm trying to relate this kind of,
if we're trying to figure it out this way, it's not clear and obvious, folks.
Yeah, exactly. That's where this all comes back to. I think I said it earlier. None of these were clear and obvious. So yeah, I think the only thing they could pitch it to was that they thought that Welbeck had made a play on the ball and was in an offside position. But after the VAR result that he clearly misses it, does it matter anymore? I don't know. I think we should just take over VAR.
That we have three,
and there's more than just these.
These were the three big ones because the Referee Association Limited United Match Official, whatever the hell they're
Big
called,
Mall.
Sure, came out and basically acknowledged two of them. I don't know if they ever did for the Brighton thing or not. I couldn't find that anywhere. They may, but if the head of what you're doing, supposed to be doing, the head of VAR, the head of the refs that man the VAR, right? Because it's not like an automated machine that kicks back like a Bitcoin at you and says this is not allowed. You have a human on the other end of that is making that call from a VAR perspective.
Right.
If the governing body over all of that comes out and in two times in the course of a weekend says, well, we acknowledge that was maybe not the best call and that mistakes were made.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Nope.
That shouldn't happen. I know the game moves fast. I know that everybody's human. I know mistakes are made. That's part of the reason that VAR was there. But it's not like these calls were missed on the field in the game of play at full pace. This was reviewed on a video camera, much like what we can see. Multiple replays, slowing it down, angles, turning cameras around, ordering pizza, direct TV, whatever the hell they were doing.
Right.
They had every opportunity to get the call right.
And failed terribly. And, to be honest, I still think one of my things that I've been saying for quite some time is VAR should not be allowed to slow anything down. VAR should play it at full speed.
Yeah.
And then you don't have any of this like fake intent that is pushed into the game. On that.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
If you can't meet it at full speed, which is what the ref saw it as.
Very good point.
Then there's no reason to slow it down.
Very good point. Yep.
VAR. How we all hate you. Well, to be honest, I don't hate VAR. I think VAR is a valuable tool.
Yes.
It is applied inconsistently. The people who apply it break the VAR tenets all the time on a weekly basis, and it's applied horribly inconsistent.
Number one rule should be clear and obvious. But it was great, especially for United fans who not only beat Arsenal, but Man City and Liverpool. And Arsenal actually is quite glad this happened as well.
Yep.
Both were held to draws by two teams that are in that relegation battle who currently sit in, 16th and 17th in the Merseyside derby.
Oh, what a great match.
Everton absolutely kicked off this weekend of matches with Liverpool. And it was just one of the funnest 0-0 draws that we could have possibly gotten. And both keepers were on full display.
Oh, yeah. Pickford, man of the match. Easy.
8 saves.
Easy. And
8 saves.
Now, when you say 8 saves, I would say
the ball dribbled into him.
Right. I would say 6 of them were superhuman efforts.
Yes.
And he was everywhere.
Yes. Those were those FIFA game saves where you're like, how the hell did that? Come on, this is a video game. Nobody's getting to that.
Yep.
Pickford made some of those saves.
Pickford even got a hand on the ball to put it into the side of the post, which then deflected out. Yeah. Normally, those get deflected in.
Yeah.
But Pickford, man, it was his day.
And that's why he's England's number one. Is he the best goalkeeper? That could be argued. Is he one of the best shot stoppers in the league? Absolutely he is. And that's why he's on that's why he's on his national team. And that's why he is such a big player for this Everton team that has been a little bit better defensively. I say that harshly. Got a couple of new signings in there and just, they're bad. I don't know if they're quite terrible yet.
They're just slightly
lackluster.
Yeah.
A little bit not really threatening on the goal scoring. Now, they did have a goal scored that was correctly VAR'd. Yeah. It was offsides.
A win for VAR for once.
Yep. So that was correctly ruled. It would have been Neil Mbappe's, a transfer that came in from Brighton. Would have been his first goal on his debut, but it was correctly ruled offsides. And on the other the other side of the coin of this, there's a Liverpool team who the collective football world is not used to seeing some of these results and some of these games that they've
Liverpool
played so far this
is
year.
Weird this season. They seem so disjointed, and they don't seem like they're playing together as a team. The defense, Van Dijk just hasn't gotten his feet in this season yet.
Yep.
And it's very, very un-Liverpool like.
And yet they scored 9 against Bournemouth, and then
but come on,
still
Bournemouth is
Bournemouth. We'll get to them here in a bit, but it's still 9 goals past a Premier League team. There's a lot of talent there, and.
I don't know. I think
had Darwin Núñez back in this, who was a bit of a pest, but not quite what we've seen.
He was too busy complaining.
Yes, he was. He hasn't played in 3 games, and that was a red card. It was a straight red, so it's not like it was due to any sort of injury that he, got. But when you got him, Salah, Diaz, that's one of the best front threes in the league.
They're just not. I don't know. They don't feel like they have a midfield who is kind of owning obviously the midfield, but then kind of the distribution for attacking play coming out of that midfield seems really disjointed.
And that's where friend of the pod Tony's injury theory comes in a bit, right? Thiago is that Bruno, right? That Odegaard, that one that pulls the strings in the midfield for that Liverpool team. He's the one that plays those balls that will get Salah in behind, that will get Diaz in behind, and will cause havoc. Right now, it's a hodgepodge mix of who's in midfield for them, consisting of Fabinho, who is essentially an auxiliary center back, which is better ball control and better short passing. Jordan Henderson, tidy player, good servant for the club, a little bit older, doesn't have the legs, doesn't quite have the visibility to pierce balls around like Thiago or Gerrard or any of those that have been in the midfield for them in the past. So to your point, what do they got there? And that's not helping him. There's a void there in that team.
Yeah. It's
also a void for the back line as well, because now Van Dijk and whoever his partner is, I think I don't know if Matt Tip started, but he came off the bench at least, but he played in this one. Whoever your center back pairing is, Konate, what's the other lad's name? The English lad. I can't remember, but they don't have that support in midfield to stop some of those balls or to stop some of those runs or to cut out a pass that may get back to them.
Yeah.
Especially when you have your fullbacks that are bombing up the field, you need that midfield support to kind of ice that middle of the field down and almost act as a frontline barrier to protect that back line. As good as Van Dijk is, a center back still needs help. He can't be left out there on an island. He can't, So Liverpool brought in a Brazilian by the name of Arthur, who bounced around from some clubs in the past few years, from PSG to, I think he was last at Juve, and now comes in on transfer deadline day over to Liverpool. And who knows if he will help. I don't know if he's that defensive midfielder, if he's that creative midfielder that they need. I don't think he's either of those. I think if anything, he's more of a box-to-box, but he hasn't really proven that at PSG or Juve. So from Liverpool's perspective, is that a bit of a panic buy? Yeah, I think so.
I think there's a number of teams that panic bought.
Oh, yeah.
During this. Oh, yeah. I mean, Chelsea's one of them, right?
Yep.
We definitely panic bought a few things, but I don't know. I don't know. I think that midfield is really, really hurting, and it's exposing Van Dijk and Gomez.
Yep, Gomez. That's the one I was thinking about. Yep.
That's at the end of the day. I think that's really what's hurting Liverpool the most. They have a good back line with the likes of, like we said, Van Dijk and Gomez, Alexander-Arnold, right? Those guys are all basically tried and true.
Yep.
Right? And then you're attacking with Luis Diaz, Nunez, Salah, all of those guys. Well, maybe Nunez is a little less tried and true than Diaz and Salah, but still a phenomenal force up front for attacking.
But do you know who just lacks? Who they miss dearly?
Sane.
Yeah.
They certainly, because
Mane, you mean?
Sorry, Mane.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's.
But I don't think he's the source of their problems.
No, I don't think he is either.
He was just good at getting those goals.
He's somebody in this that would have gotten that goal to make it a 1-0, let's get out of there with the win type of game.
He would have gotten that dirty, scrappy goal that was absolutely needed.
Yep. They would have been complete crap, and we could have talked about, they only won 1-0 against a bad Everton team, but he would have been to bail them out for all 3 points, opposed to the one that they got.
So I guess to not do the typical, right? When a lower team gets a draw or a win off of a top 6 or 8 team, we always talk about how bad that top team was. Mm-hmm. We don't really talk about how good the lower team was. Mm-hmm. But I think Everton did what they needed to do in this whole game. They were physical.
I agree.
I think the tactics were relatively sound.
I agree. Yep.
And they just took it to Liverpool instead of what I guess most people would have expected was to just kind of try and sit back and absorb what you could. And then maybe you get lucky on a couple of counters.
Sure. Yeah.
But Everton came out and just hit him in the mouth.
They were much more organized, had a little bit more fight to them, a little bit more desire to get a result out of this game. And, you also saw that with the next game that we're going to talk about here. And Aston Villa came out with a lot of that same way. Sound tactics, came out a little bit more desire to get something from the game.
Yeah.
And worked hard on and off the ball.
Yeah.
And Everton certainly did that against their crosstown rivals of Liverpool.
So as you were just mentioning, Leon Bailey's lovely strike in the 24 minutes after Erling Haaland once again to open the scoring on the day in the second half was just enough for Stevie G and the squad to earn a well-earned point at home to the Premier League Titans. Also VAR, it was not really much of a VAR.
Well, it's because it couldn't be VAR'd.
Yeah.
When Philip Coutinho was deemed offsides by the linesman and it was whistled and called, that's not VAR-able.
Right.
They put the ball in the back of the net, but that's not VAR-able because it was called on the field. How the hell does that work? If it's called on the field, we're not going to change that. But if it's not called on the field, we can change that.
Yeah, I don't
That
understand.
doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's completely, not backwards, but
No,
why
no,
can't apply it to both?
It's backwards.
It's backwards, yeah.
Right? The idea is you're looking for a clear and obvious error in the officiating. Not, they called it on the field, so we won't call it here.
Is it clear and obvious error because you missed the call? That's why it's clear and obvious? Or it's clear and obvious error because you got it wrong? Why isn't both applied? Anyways.
I don't get it.
That would have made the game, I think, 2-1 at the time.
Yeah.
And would have been quite an end to that game had that goal actually counted.
Oh, my God. Well, no hat trick. No hat trick of hat tricks for Erling Haaland.
That's true.
Which means he's clearly in decline.
Yeah,
Man City's going to be in the toilet.
He's absolutely. He only scored 1 goal. Come on, lad. What the hell are you doing with your life?
Only one.
No, but there is something, they have a plus 14. That's not bad, you know. But it's a little head scratchy from City, but City really turn it on and really dial it up from January on, right? We've seen that in the Premier League where they haven't been first. What was it? I think Chelsea last season, all the way up until December, were first or thereabouts, and then Man City kind of turned it on, and then it was that 2-horse race for the remainder of the year.
Yeah.
Now they have plenty of depth. Will that World Cup break
that's
throw
the
them
thing
off
that's
that
going
at
to
all?
be tough.
Possibly.
Right?
Will the desire to get a Champions League throw them off at all? It's a little early to tell. They obviously have Champions League action coming up this week, but against a Villa team, although it's away, these are games that City usually win by 2-1, 3-1, and they just couldn't quite find that second goal.
Which is very uncharacteristic of them.
Yeah. Especially
since the majority of their matches this season have been second half barn burners. Right? They've come from behind 3 times to win matches by at least 1 goal. So I kept waiting for them to just shift into another gear and just dust Aston Villa. But Aston Villa just hung tight.
Yep. I mean, Man City had 72% of the possession to 28%.
Oh, just
total shots 13 to the 3 of Aston Villa. 5 of those shots for City were on target. 4 of those shots were on target. 1 hit the woodwork, and 8 of the shots were from inside the box. 5 were from outside the box. So they created plenty.
I think what you can credit Villa for is a great work ethic in this match.
Yeah.
And they were very disciplined in retaining shape.
Very true. Yep. Absolutely.
That's the only way they got out of this with their skin.
Absolutely. And they got outpassed, obviously. Listen to this stat.
Sure.
763 passes by Man City to 287.
A lot of those were
by Villa. Oh, the
probing and sideways.
Yeah, that's exactly what they do half the time. But, I think Villa came in there with a plan. They executed that plan, and to get a point from a game where they usually would not have gotten a point from.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, good on them.
Hell, had that second goal been allowed, which it should have been,
right?
Who knows what this result could have been?
Yeah, who knows? Well, there's some other results from around the weekend. Ivan Toney's hat trick against Leeds as Brentford roll over Jesse March's squad 5-3.
A wonderful second goal from him with that free kick. Absolutely
just
lovely.
Beautiful. Now, the score does, in my opinion, the score doesn't tell me or tell you how much Brentford really actually had this match.
Oh, yeah. Yep. No, I'm sorry. It was 5-2, not 5-3. I apologize. But yes, even then, it was Brentford from the start. I mean, 64th minute, Jesse Marsh got sent off.
Right.
Lovely.
A good old American red.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't go, where's a base? I want to take off the base and throw it down and kick some dirt on it and then leave. That's what we're used to here in America.
Yes, scuff the umpire. Right?
But no, it was all Brighton. It really was. They scored a very not a late goal, but a 79th minute goal to make it 3-2 at the time, and then just 2 more were piled on for Brentford. In fact, they went down and scored that very next minute in the 80th. So it was always in the bag and always just handled very well from the Bees.
And then we had something that I don't think we expected, a Bournemouth
Let's go.
second half 3-goal comeback at the City Ground to win 3-2 over a stunned Nottingham crowd who just thought they had their second win of the season.
Yeah. And, 20-some signings brought in. None of them know how to close out a game.
Just crazy.
Because this is not like you were away to Bournemouth and you had the crowd behind. You're at home, 2-0 up against a team that you just came up the ranks with and up into the league with.
Yeah,
you got to see them out here,
right?
You got to get the win because these are wins that you need because you may not get the wins against the Man Cities, Tottenhams, Arsenals, so on and so forth. So this is one that you're up 2-0 at half. See the game out, get your points against a fellow promoted club, and get out of there. But no, Bournemouth just absolutely under. I don't know who the interim is, but he did well. Had that kind of interim manager bounce, which may only last for a game, but it was bounce that day.
Who knows? This could be the difference between them staying up or being relegated.
Yep.
This match right here.
Well, and to kind of that same point, Harry Kane's eventual winner in the 75th was just enough to keep fellow London club Fulham to a very contentious 3-1 or 2-1 win.
Yeah.
And these are games in the past where Tottenham would have dropped.
Yeah, true.
And ones that they would have kind of screwed the pooch in a way.
That's what we're used to.
Exactly.
That's what we're used to.
But they saw it out.
Yeah.
And it was a hard fought battle. You had you had Kane on one side and then Alexander Mitrovic on the other, who also had a goal in this. And it was a good hard fought battle and kind of a very tactically sound win for.
Yeah. I'm a little
Tottenham.
bit afraid of Tottenham still, from the respect of
Yeah.
when Son finds his form, they're going to be real tough to break down.
Yep. There were a couple of goals called off here. I don't think any of them were that contentious, but he hit the woodwork, I think. He still has not scored yet, but he was all over the place. And if that Kane Kulusevski, and Son trio, and then you toss Richarlison in there, who had a very good game as well.
Yeah. They're going to be real tough to break down.
I agree. Especially with, what's his name there?
Player?
The manager.
Conte,
thank you. Yeah, with his style and his second year with the club, he's
making significant strides.
Oh yeah.
Which puts us to Wolves get their first win of the season over Southampton, which, man, who saw that coming?
Right?
I saw Southampton rolling over the Wolves. But the Wolves get one as Daniel
Podence.
Thank you. Podence's goal just before the half is enough to earn the 1-0 win at the Molineux. And then I think really the thing that's interesting here is it possible that Diego Costa is actually going to end up at the Wolves?
I forgot about that.
Is that really possible?
God, I hope so.
Because, man, having Mortimer back in the old Premier League.
Next thing you know, Wolves be bringing in Jose Mourinho. Wouldn't that be brilliant?
Oh God, how many people is he gonna goad into retaliating against him? Oh, man.
What a signing that would be. And I think they could do it because it would be on a free, or there's some kind of rules that they're allowed to. It's interesting.
Right, because it's not part of the normal transfer rules.
Correct. Yeah.
There's
it's not like a selling from one club to
right,
the next.
open the open
it's a
thing.
free agent type thing
oh my God, could you imagine? It'd be so nice to have him back in the Premier League
just for the pure entertainment and content factor alone.
Yep. Well, why don't you just rip us through the table here real quick?
Cool. Top of the table is still Arsenal, despite their loss to Manchester United on the weekend. That one in that loss column looks great there. Man City are in second, just a point behind on 14 points, as well as Tottenham on third on 14 points. And then Brighton, Hove, and Albion, as we said a little bit earlier, still in that top four with that big win. They're on 13 points. So they're a game off of being top of the table.
Crazy.
Nuts. So far, so good. Now, they started off this way last year as well, and then the season kind of got the better of them.
Right.
We'll see what they can do.
I think they're too much of a different team this year than they were last year.
I think you might be right. Manchester United sit in fifth on 12 points. Chelsea sit in sixth on 10 points. And that rounds out your top six in your European places. Seventh, Liverpool on 9 points, along with Brentford on 9 points as well, sitting eighth. Then you have Leeds and Fulham, which round out the top 10. Then you have Newcastle, Southampton, Bournemouth, Wolves, Palace, Everton, and Villa are all your 11 through 17 spots. Everton are the only club in those spots. I'm sorry, Everton and Villa are the only club in that spots that are currently tied on points with the 2 out of the 3 relegated teams. And West Ham sit in 18th place on 4 points. Nottingham sit in 19th place on 4 points with a minus 10 goal difference from them.
Ouch.
And then Leicester City, who Brighton beat 5-2, by the way.
Yep.
Last place.
Think
minus 8 and 1 point.
Is the Barrage going to get the sack soon?
Again, I don't think they can afford to sack him because
I don't
they're
think
going
they
to
can
pay him
either.
out.
Yeah, well, not only that, but, there's 3 questions, right? 1, if you fire him, you're still going to have to give him his $10 million. 2, who are you going to get? And 3, you don't have the money.
Exactly.
Right? There's still an administration for financial problems, right? So you
deal with it.
You're just gonna get relegated.
Yeah. The worrying sign for them is not only are they on 1 point with a 5 in that loss column, but they were up in games.
Yeah.
They blew those leads.
Yep.
To even get them another point or two that would give a little bit more, but to give up those and go to the losses.
Yep.
Not good for Everton at the moment. Or I'm sorry, for Leicester City at the moment.
Yeah.
And same for Everton in a way, but much worse for
And just think
Leicester.
of this. If VAR hadn't robbed West Ham and West Ham had gotten another point, they'd be out of relegation right now.
Yeah, and they'd be up to possibly 11th, 12th, somewhere in that range.
Just crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Ron, you got a little beer news for us?
I do. I have one quick story for us.
Go on.
You're going to be so excited for this.
Okay.
Finally.
Yep.
After months and months of negotiations between tournament organizers and FIFA,
Okay.
we are finally they finally agreed that they will serve alcoholic beverages and alcoholic beer at the matches.
Well done.
Because of the Qatar rules, there's been a lot of political issues with how alcohol can be served and when it can be served.
Yep.
Right. Now, Qatar is one of the more, I guess, liberal when it comes to its alcohol laws. But essentially, organizers of the World Cup in Qatar have finalized the policy to serve beer with alcohol in it, because there is times when they cannot serve that to soccer fans at the stadiums and fan zones in the Muslim majority country. FIFA said this week that fans will be allowed to purchase Budweiser beer with alcohol within the 8 stadium compounds. Here's the trick.
Just Budweiser?
Just Budweiser. Not at the concourse concession stands.
Where are they going to get?
In the compounds.
What does that mean?
So essentially, the concourse, like when we go to Orlando City, right, and we walk under the seats in that big O during halftime and buy a beer, can't buy it there.
No kidding.
Directly outside the stadium, on stadium property in the compound, because it's all fenced in, you can buy it there. Then you can go on to their concourse.
So you got to go off the concourse to get a Bud Heavy.
Yeah.
Walk half that off by just, Jeez.
Yep.
You know what would have solved all of this?
Not having it at friggin' Qatar.
There you go.
In the middle of the...
There you go.
Oh, man. So much crap. So the beer policy affecting most fans was announced just 11 weeks before the first game and finally fulfills the expectation since Qatar's campaign 12 years ago to be the first World Cup host in the Middle East.
And all they get is Bud Heavy.
Blech.
God bless their stomachs over there.
Oh, God, there's going to be yak in the streets.
I don't mind one from time to time.
Yep.
No,
I don't mind
it's
one.
not one that I want to.
I mind one every time.
I'll enjoy a Bud every now and again, but that's very far and few between. I don't want to be pounding one back at a game.
Nope, I can't tell you the last time I had one. So there's a few other rules.
Okay.
Right? You can't buy it until after 6:30 p.m.
Oh, duh.
Right? So,
of course.
So if you're in an afternoon match,
you're screwed.
BYOB in the parking lot.
Yeah, it sounds like, which if you can even do that might be a law.
But you're going to have to sneak it because you're not allowed to be drinking it.
Then you'll probably get your arm chopped off for sneaking a 6-pack of Bud Light into there.
And these rules are only relaxed for the 29-day tournament, and then everything else goes back to normal.
Jeez.
It is expected that there will be 1 million visitors, including fans from 31 countries, to that tiny emirate. And
they're all going to be drinking Bud Heavy.
Oh, it's going to be terrible. But AB InBev's happy, right?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
There's going to be, what's funny is, even though the country is giving them very specific windows in which they can sell beer at the stadium, they shouldn't say in the stadium because that's misleading. At the stadium and in the fan zones, which, you're going to have a postage stamp that you're allowed to sell beer on, right? AB InBev Budweiser commercials are going to be every 10 seconds, and every stadium is going to have 1 million Budweiser advertisements, even though you can only buy it for about a glimpse of a second.
Can I make one request?
What's that?
Bring the Budweiser frogs back for all of those TV spots.
That's funny. Well, it's going to be interesting because a lot of people were really nervous about all this because they've been selling tickets to very specific people that have beer, wine, and other alcohols in it. And so far, we have not seen anything about hard liquor. We have only seen...
flask it up, baby.
Right. Beer and champagne.
Champagnes?
Those are the only two that are currently, that I'm aware of, that are allowed. So all you people that like mixed drinks,
bring a flask.
Totes.
Or just make sure it's okay to bring a flask. You don't get your arm chopped off for not bringing a flask.
Oh, no. You're going to bring a flask, and it's going to be a mess.
Yep.
So that brings us to our La Liga's roundup. Ferris.
Thank you, Prince of Pennsylvania, Ron. I don't have quite the jingle that Blake has. But the La Liga's roundup. Well, would you looky there. Borussia Dortmund, SC Freiburg, Werder Bremen, FC Cologne, Eintracht Frankfurt, there it goes, Mainz, and Hertha Berlin, who got their first win of the season so far, were all winners on the weekend. Ron, did you notice that I didn't say Bayern Munich in any of that?
I did.
Well,
I actually watched that game.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, that's because Union Berlin's 12th minute goal by Scheraldo Becker was enough to hold the German Giants to a 1-1 draw in the German capital. How was the game?
It wasn't as good as you thought it was going to be.
Oh, okay.
It was largely a bout of kickball in the center of the field. Okay. A lot of sideways passing.
Yep.
and whoops, a goal happened.
Okay.
And then a lot more of the same. And then, oops, a goal happened.
Okay.
That's pretty much what it was like.
Well, because of that, though, because of kicking the ball sideways and oops, a goal happened, Bayern are dropped all the way down. Hold on. Listen to this stat. They dropped all the way down to third.
What?
I know. Third in the table, but only 1 point behind Freiburg and Borussia Dortmund. But there's only 5 games in this young
they're not
season,
going to be there for long.
Yeah. Now third. Well, would you looky there? Both Real Madrid and Barcelona were both winners on the weekend as they sit 1 and 2 in the table in that order. And Robert Lewandowski, of course, once again scored for Barca. I believe it was their second goal. But you also had wins from Celta Vigo, Osasuna, Espanyol, Valencia, and Villarreal, who are all currently Villarreal is currently in third. But all of those were winners on the weekend. Real Betis, who played Real Madrid, is a team that currently sit in fourth. So although they did lose 2-1 to Madrid, they currently sit in fourth. Again, very young season, only a few games in there. But
what's interesting about the Spanish league, in my opinion, this year, is that there's no clear runaway winner so far.
Not yet.
It's much more, it seems, again, 5 matches into the season, it seems like the teams are a little bit harder to beat than your normal year where you have 2 teams riding out the top and everybody else is, double-digit points below.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year in La Liga. You're going to get your Real Madrid and Barcelona that odds are going to finish in that 1 and 2 spot, right? The amount of talent, the amount of money that each have been able to spend is just crazy. Especially for Barca, who's still way in debt. However, out of the teams that are in UEFA, they were one of the 5 teams that weren't actually fined for financial fair play reasons. Figure that out.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. But, Atletico Madrid down there in 7th, not the best start to their season. Current form has them with only 2 wins, a loss, and a draw. Not the worst, not the best, but that's why they're down there in 7th. I expect them to kind of go up the table more. Same with Valencia and same with Real Sociedad. Both kind of similar. Both with 2 wins. Sociedad with a loss and a draw, and then Valencia with 2 losses. I expect those clubs to kind of work their way up a bit. But it's only 4 games in, and Real Madrid are the only team to have a perfect 4-0 start. That it's going to be an interesting season, but your top 2 that from the league are still going to be up there.
Do you think they're missing Casemiro?
No.
I don't think they are.
No, not. I think it was time for them to kind of move on from him and him to move on, but more so where you'll see that gap, and we can ask that more heavily, is round of 16 Champions League semifinals, where that veteran talent that come into play, right? We saw that last year with them and with a 30-some-year-old and Luka Modric, who played some fantastic balls and was that kind of veteran leader out there on the field. That's what you're kind of miss, because he being Casemiro never really showed up on the score sheet for them, but cut out those balls that could have led to more dangerous opportunities against their defense. And that's where he'll be missed, is in those type of games. Well, would you looky there? Atalanta sit atop of the Serie A table as they won today in a 2-0 win over Monza. Napoli currently sit in second with their win on the weekend over number 8 in the table, Lazio. But it was the Milan derby on Saturday in front of 75,000 plus.
Wow. Which
saw AC Milan win 3-2 over Inter, courtesy of a Rafael Leao highlighting brace to secure all 3 points for the Rossoneri. Do you know who else scored in that match?
Who?
The Lumbersexual.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yes, he did. AC Milan currently sit in third, though, with that win, while Udinese's 4-0 win over Roma brought them up to 4th in the table.
Just a walking over of Roma.
Whew, yeah. And you got Roma, Juve, and Inter all round out the top 7 currently in Italy.
I think the Italian league is a really fun one to watch this season. There's so many teams, much like I was saying about the Spanish league, but I think maybe a bit more so. I think the top 10 are all within striking distance of each other. Maybe not quite the top 10, but
top 7 or 8.
Yeah, are all like within a point or 2 of each other.
Well, and you know, I didn't even realize that the Milan derby was on Saturday, because I would have loved to watch that, especially with the 3-2 win like that was. But, you know, 5 games played, you have some good talent, you have good managers, and you have some good play. It's something that I definitely want to watch more and more the longer the season kind of gets going and gets its kind of feet under them, because will Atalanta remain first? Who knows, but they have a hell of a team.
Yeah.
Napoli have been on fire and kind of cooled down a bit, but they haven't had the easiest schedule out of the gate. So then you got Juve down there in 7th.
Yeah.
Still dangerous, still have tons of talent. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Scudetto plays out the further and further that we get along. And then you need to not forget, just the World Cup affects all.
Yep.
So the Italian league will also be shut down for a longer period and different period of time than what they're used to. Because remember, they have the winter breaks that they usually take.
Right.
This is different. This is earlier. This is longer. So we shall see. Well, would you looky there? There are some scrumptious couple of helpers from Messi who helped Mbappe to feast on Nantes as PSG won 3-0 on Saturday in the Uber Eats French Ligue 1. While PSG continued to sit at the head of the table, Marseille are pulling on Dad's shirt to switch spots at the dinner table, as they are currently tied on points with the French Giants following their 2-0 defeat over AJ Auxerre.
The only thing difference is the goal differential.
Correct.
That's it.
Which, you know, you expect. You know, that front 3 starting to come more into shape and more into form for them with that Mbappe, Messi, Neymar front 3. But what that needs to come in full shape for is not the French League.
Yeah.
Champions League,
right,
which we're getting into this week.
Well, also, I mean, there was a early red card in that PSG match, which really helps those 3 just roll right over.
Oh, yeah. But it's PSG, and
agreed.
I don't think anybody really expects them to not win the league, but it would be a hell of a surprise if they didn't. Currently sitting in 3rd and 4th are Lens and Lyon, and, you know, they're just a game behind the front 2, which is kind of surprising. You know, for as good as PSG would have been, you think maybe they have a 2-game lead or a 4-point lead that would make it a 2-game lead. Yeah. No, it's still, if results go the way, Lyon could be top of the table. So it's all within a good distance for them. But, you know, they just wait a game behind as they wait for the parents to get up from the table and actually clean the dishes. So that they can sneak into their seats and finish off the glorious meal provided by Patrick Stewart and Mark Hamill in the Uber Eats French Ligue 1. I love the French Ligue 1. Just I actually don't watch a whole lot of it anymore. My team in France is not there anymore. Bordeaux went down in their administration. It's not good. But just because the Uber Eats just provides so much workable content, it's great.
It's a feast.
It's a feast.
It's a feast of
absolutely
content.
A feast. But that is your La Liga's roundup, and of course, the Champions League kicks off this week. So by the time you probably listen to this pod, a few games, the Europa League, the Conference League, I think maybe
it's going to be so much soccer all this.
They're
week.
Trying to shove it all in, obviously, much faster. And in seasons past, there was a handful of teams that played on one Tuesday, handful of teams that played on one Wednesday, and then the other half played the following Tuesday and Wednesday.
Right.
That's no longer. I think it's back to the old style because they're trying to push all of these games in.
Because the World Cup
yeah,
is the big bully brother.
Exactly.
Who is pushing everybody around.
Exactly. But that is officially the end of the league is roundup.
Nice. Well, I think that about wraps us up. Make sure that you follow us on the socials, Facebook, Twitter.
This is usually Blake's department.
Instagram. Follow us on Untapped, where I think, to be honest, Instagram and Untapped, I think, are where we're the most busy.
Yeah.
Than probably Twitter.
We need to get a little bit busier. There's a lot of beers that I failed to put up there on the Untapped.
You know, we have other things going on, and this is just a fun endeavor, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, bear with us as we keep putting up new beers. I'll be traveling to Germany and to Switzerland this coming week. So, or actually this week, it is Monday. So this week, watch out for a lot of Insta stories and Untapped as I drink my way around Switzerland and Germany for Oktoberfest.
So jealous.
So that's going to be a good time. And if you listen to the pod,
zap us, as Blake says.
Yeah, zap us a screenshot and
if you leaving a comment, giving us a rating,
and we'll get you out some swag in the mail. Appreciate that, and tell your friends about your favorite beer and soccer podcast.
Do you know what we're gonna have despite Blake's absence from the pod?
What's that?
Dad joke.
Oh, you got yourself a dad joke.
I do.
Okay, let me hear it.
I stole this, so it's not mine.
I mean, aren't they all stolen?
True. So, Ron.
Yes.
What do you call James Bond taking a bath?
What do you call James Bond taking a bath? Bubble O something?
007.
Oh.
I know. Great.
I was like, it has to be something with Bubble O, right?
007, baby.
007.
I stole that from one of the a Detroit Lions player on the Hard Knocks series in HBO. He said that at one of the credits, and I was like, "Oh, that got me laughing."
That's pretty good.
So I thought it was a good dad joke.
I'll wrap us up with a Zlatan quote,
please.
All right, so
regale us, Ron, Prince of Pennsylvania. Go on.
I wish we could get rid of that.
It's sticking now.
So Zlatan was asked in a TV interview to describe star footballers in one word. The presenter said, Lionel Messi. Zlatan said, fantastic. Cristiano Ronaldo. Good. Zlatan Ibrahimovic? Wow. Was Zlatan's response. He's the king.
He's the god of.
Oh, right. Yeah, in the last pod, we had the joke about.
He's the god of Manchester. That's actually quite humble for him.
It is, right? That he gave credit to two other players. Fantastic and good.
Yeah, it was actually a little bit humble for Zlatan.
Yeah.
Well, do you got another one here?
No. I'll let them.
Okay, let them just.
I'll just let them go. It's all right.
And again, that was from our Zlatan Style, the funniest Zlatan Ibrahimovic quotes by Gordon Law book.
God, it's a great book.
It's a gift that keeps on giving all year.
Just do yourself a favor and spend the $11 on it, and
yeah, it's free
and buy
Prime,
it.
so just have it shipped to you. You'll be good.
It's so good. All right, gentlemen. Well, silly. Just you are a gentleman, so there you go. That about wraps us up. Love the beer, cherish the game, the beautiful game.
Mr. Blake, but glory, Man United.